Hey now! What is up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka Review King MB, and Smallville Rewind. This episode is entitled Stray, and as soon as I saw the title, as soon as I was jumping into this episode, I instantly remembered it. I'm not going to say I remembered everything, but I remembered a lot of this episode and what it's about, and the new character that gets introduced, which is a testament because there's a lot of Smallville episodes. This is very early on in the series, and there's a lot of stuff that I don't remember going back and rewatching this show. So the fact that I remember this very well, I think shows how good this episode was. So we get introduced to this character, Ryan, this young kid who at the very beginning you see that he's at the store, and we don't know exactly what it is at this point, but we figure out later on that he's able to read people's minds. So he's able to see the combination numbers to the safe of the store. He goes out and tells this guy and this lady. Again, we don't know who they are at the time, but we later find out it's his stepfather and the guy's wife. And so they're using Ryan and his abilities to get the numbers, the combination numbers, to rob this guy's store. And this actually surprised me. Seeing the stepfather shoot and murder the old man that was the store owner was fucked up. I guess for Smallville, obviously people die on this show and have died on this show, but the way how the guy just so callously shot him and like almost didn't care. Ryan sees this and he freaks out for obvious reasons, runs away. And as he's running, he goes like into the highway and he gets hit by a car. This is all very fucked up, I know. And you see that it's Martha Kent who accidentally ran this kid over. And I'm not sure how Ryan was like as okay as he was. He gets hit and he like flips over the roof of the car. Like he got hit bad. And he's on the ground. And Martha gets out to check on him, and she's freaking out. Are you okay? And he just like wakes up and says, I lost my shoe. And like he's not hurt. Now she says, I'm going to bring you to the hospital, which is the correct thing to do. And the stepfather and lady run up and sort of see that he's being driven away by somebody else. And so at the hospital, you see that the doctor claims that Ryan claims that he doesn't remember anything. He has amnesia. And the doctor even didn't sound like she really bought it. She saw that he had cuts and bruises all over his body that she's not convinced came from the accident, that maybe he was abused by people. And this is kind of weird, because the doctor says that, well, we called Child Protective Services, but they're understaffed, so they can't come until tomorrow. And we don't have any place for him to stay, so we're going to bring him to, like, the juvenile detention center. And then the Kents say, obviously, well, actually Clark says it, and Martha agrees, can he stay with us until these people come? And the doctor says, sure, fine, why not? And I was just confused over, like, wait, they're only coming tomorrow. It's only a day. He can't just stay at the hospital? Now, look, maybe it's a small hospital. Maybe they're also understaffed. Maybe it's just logistically he can't stay there. But that was my first thought of, like, he can't just stay at this hospital? Really? All right, fine. So the Kents, of course, are being the saints that they are. They take this kid home to their farm. And again, we don't know yet, but he's reading their minds and he can tell what they want. He fixed them breakfast. He fixes exactly what they want or would want for breakfast. He's reading their minds. And then when Clark comes in, it's very interesting that like Ryan's just looking at Clark and he's asking Clark, what does he want? But it's like you can tell his powers aren't working on Clark. He can't read Clark's mind. And at first I'm like, oh, that's really cool. It's always cool when maybe it's not always consistent because it seems like there are times when powers affect Clark and then powers don't affect Clark because he's an alien, because he's Kryptonian. Like that one episode Hug when the guy went to shake Clark's hand to try to control him, but it didn't work because he's an alien. But there's other episodes when Clark gets mind controlled or gets changed into somebody else, and so like, well, why does that work on him? Doesn't really matter. So Ryan is reading this comic book. Was it The Guardian Angel? And it's cool that comic books are already a thing in Smallville or in this world, especially because Clark Kent, or the Superman character, is like the very first superhero sort of ever, right? And you see that the reason why Ryan likes this Guardian Angel comic book is because the comic book is about a character that arrives from like another planet, and he goes to save people who can't save themselves. Sound familiar? Definitely not Clark's future. And Ryan has a line that he says to Clark where he says, "You know, Clark, I like being around you. It's very peaceful." And so that's when I figure out that, like, wow, yeah, he likes the fact that he can't read Clark's mind. He's not boggled down by his inner thoughts, sort of knowing secretly what he's thinking, because that's probably how he interacts with everybody. He knows when people are lying. He knows when people really think of him or really think about things. And so Clark takes Ryan to the Talon. The Talon is officially the hangout spot of Smallville. Obviously, Clark is going there for other reasons, right? Lana, cough, cough. But they're there, and there's a scene when Lex arrives, and Ryan is talking to Lex, and Ryan's just instantly like giving off cold vibes to Lex. Like he's just, you could tell he does not like him. You don't really know why. And even Clark is like, dude, Lex is my friend. Like, what's going on here? That wasn't cool. And Ryan says something to the effect of like, I know he's your friend, Clark, but like, don't trust him. There's a lot of darkness inside of him. And this might be later on, but Clark says to Ryan, I'd like to believe in the good in people. And I really like that. That's just one of those things about Clark that even if he hears that Lex might not be a good person, he has no reason himself to feel that Lex is a bad person. He will choose to believe that Lex is good or can be good. And I like that quality in Clark. I also like, there's a scene when Clark, I guess, brings Ryan to the school, or at the very least, they're in Chloe's torch wall of weird area. And Chloe's talking to Ryan, and she brings up this old story about this kid who came in and forgot his memories, and people came in trying to see if he was their lost child. And I like when Ryan says, oh, well, does the kid end up finding his parents? And then she goes, well, yeah, sure. He finds his parents, and he lives happily ever after. And I love that Ryan reads her mind and goes, you're lying. Why didn't you just tell me the kid died or the kid was murdered? And then there's a cool moment when Ryan is talking to Clark separately, and he says, you know, Chloe likes you. Like, really likes you. In fact, she wants you to ask her to prom. And she even already has a dress picked out. Like, it's a whole thing. And Clark's just like, what? And it's funny that Clark doesn't put that together on his own. Like, he can't tell that Chloe has the hots for him, because it's pretty obvious. You don't need to be a mind reader to watch their interaction and figure that out. Now, I myself remember in high school being friends with girls, and certain girls that, like, even if you thought they liked you, because you liked somebody else, which in Clark's case, he likes Lana, or because you don't like them in that way, you're just choosing to ignore those obvious signs. And so it felt like Clark was doing that here. He was choosing to ignore all of the obvious signs of Chloe liking him because he doesn't want to even broach that subject. He doesn't even want to, like, address it, because he's either going to have to shoot her down, or he's going to have to make things awkward or end the friendship. Who knows? And Let's quickly talk about the scene when Lionel shows up. Lionel Luthor, John Glover. It's always a plus. It's always great when John Glover arrives, even if it's just for these two scenes throughout the episode. So he shows up and he offers Lex a job to come back to Metropolis, work directly under Lionel as like some high level assistant type position to, I mean, I don't know. Whatever the title was, it sounded like a big deal. And Lionel even implies that this is something that Lex had always wanted, was to be in this position in the company. And Lex, I like that Lex, even though he may have wanted this, or this may be something that, like, deep down he wants, I like that he knows his father enough to know he's full of shit. He knows it's not just Lionel being nice or being gracious or wanting to give him something. He knows Lionel has ulterior motives. We find out later, Lex says to him that, like, you just don't like the fact that I'm doing so well on my own in Smallville. I'm not getting into trouble. I'm not out partying and drinking and getting all of these criminal things that I used to get into. Like, I'm doing well. And I may someday, one day, take over the company, take you out. So, very Game of Thrones like, just their dynamic, their relationship. Lex even has a thing where Lionel says, "Oh, isn't this something that you've always wanted me to say, Lex? That, like, I need you for this job?" And Lex says, "No, there's other words that I've been waiting for you to say for a lot longer." And that just, the look on Lionel's face, like, damn, their dynamic is so deep and layered and rich and tragic for so many reasons. Also, Lionel mentioned the Alexander the Great story again, and it informs why Lex talks the way that he does, why Lex is always citing these random stories or these old Greek mythology type stuff. He brings it up to Clark a lot, and it's because he gets it directly from his father. And so I liked all of that dynamic. Also, we see the couple at the beginning, the stepfather. You see him pretending to be the detective. He goes to the hospital and he claims to be a detective looking for Ryan. And granted, it's just the receptionist at the hospital. I don't think she was a nurse. Maybe she was a nurse. But it was like, wait, we're not going to check this guy's fucking ID. We're not going to make sure he is who he says he is. But he just takes off and he somehow finds Ryan at the Talon. Maybe he was just looking around Smallville and just stumbled across him. I like that Ryan heard his thoughts before he even saw him, turns around, sees him, runs out of the Talon, tries to hide from the stepfather. He jumps into the garbage bale, and of course, great timing, the garbage truck shows up and takes the bale and is about to crush it. I love, love, love that Clark comes out and uses X-ray vision, sees that Ryan's in there. He rips open the side of the garbage trash thing, and Ryan's like, "Holy fuck, this is like the hero in my comic book." Clark Kent's a fucking superhero. He has powers, all of this stuff. I guess Clark denied that he ripped open the thing. Like, they don't really talk about it directly. Ryan eventually brings it up to Martha of like, yeah, when Clark ripped open the garbage thing, and Martha's like, "Oh, that didn't really happen." And I guess Ryan, because he can read minds, he just knows everybody's full of shit. There's also another scene, I think it's like the next day. Jonathan brings Ryan back to the Talon, which is sort of, I was wondering why would he bring him back there after what just happened. Of course, Ryan doesn't tell them that the stepfather was there looking for him and stuff, but like, you would think Ryan would try to come up with an excuse of why not to go back there, just in case the stepfather is back there or does come back to look for him. Of course, like I said, Jonathan doesn't know, but I like the scene that Ryan is talking to Lana, and Ryan is like kind of trying to figure out Lana's deal, probably trying to see if she's a good person. He tends to do that because there's another waitress that walks in, and Ryan looks at her, has this weird look on his face. Lana checks it, and Ryan says, "You should fire her. She's a bad person." He doesn't tell her why she's a bad person, but just that, like, she's not a good person. Later on, at the end of the episode, Lana tells Ryan that, like, you were right about that girl. She was stealing money from the store. So, thanks, Ryan. Man, mind reading, what a great ability, a great power, superpower to have. I used to always think that either flying or teleporting, especially, you ever see that movie Jumper? I would absolutely love to have the superpower ability from Jumper, but mind reading would definitely let me weed out a lot of the asshole bullshit lying motherfuckers that are out there. Ryan I guess he got this from reading Martha's mind. So he, I guess, figures out the spaceship that Clark has. We actually haven't seen this spaceship in a long ass time, but he goes to the cellar, which, I mean, do they not keep the cellar locked? Like, the fact that Ryan was just able to go in there. Clark shows up and goes down there and sees Ryan down there, and now they have to talk about it. Oops. And Ryan, I love this scene though, because Ryan not only relating to Clark in a way about how, like, we're both different, we both have to keep this a secret, we both have to hide who we really are, and of course Clark is a real life superhero. Ryan loves that. But the moment when Ryan says, my stepfather abuses me, he beats me, he wants to use my powers for bad, I need you to protect me, Clark. And fuck, this kid, I don't know how young this kid is, he's pretty young. His acting in this scene especially got me, man. Like, it was getting me emotional to where, like, this is why this character sticks out. This is why this character feels different from any other. I wouldn't even say he's a meteor freak. I don't think his powers are directly affected from the meteor rocks. Are they? Maybe they are and I missed it. But even still, this character, especially in this scene, meant a lot. And you get a scene where Clark and Chloe are out looking for clues on the area where Ryan was found by Martha. They find a picture of Ryan and his mother, his dead mother. And this is where Clark brings up the whole thing of, like, oh yeah, Ryan told me that you wanted me to take you out to the prom and you have a dress. And Chloe, Allison Mack has this great reaction of her face going like, oh, fuck, because it's true. And that's when Clark goes like, oh, shit, it's true. And there's a scene later when Chloe comes to Clark's barn and she mentions how this cop, like, pulled her over for speeding, but she got out of it because she was being flirty and the cop was flirting back with her. And Clark makes a face that I can't tell if he was jealous, but Chloe, I think, was trying to see if he was jealous. And she goes, I should ask him to the prom. And she's looking at Clark, and Clark's just like looking away and just not reacting at all. This is clearly Chloe trying to get Clark to, like, ask her. This is when I'm trying to figure out, is Clark trying to just avoid the subject because it's too awkward, or it's too weird, or is it because he doesn't have feelings at all for her and so he doesn't want to shoot her down? It's probably more that. Because obviously we know that Clark is way more into Lana. And so there's a scene where Lex shows up to Clark's farm. He's about to go meet his father in Metropolis to decide if he's going to leave. And Clark sees the driver of the limo. And when Chloe comes over, she has a picture of Ryan's stepfather, and it's the same guy. Clark figures out that the stepfather is pretending, I guess, to be Lex's limo driver. Also, the stepmother, the wife, she pretended to be child services, and she came by the house already and took Ryan away. So Clark, I don't know how he found where Lex ended up. The stepfather was trying to get Lex's password to steal his money, blah, blah, blah. It's one of those deals where Lex, for his name and his position of power and his level of security, he should not be this vulnerable. The amount of times that he gets targeted and attacked or attempted to be robbed, he should have bodyguards with him. Like, at all times, he should be more protected. He's nearly died so many times. This is if you overthink it. I guess the writers just feel like they have to make Lex vulnerable or make Lex in a position where Clark has to help him. What's weird, though, is that, okay, so Ryan's there with the father, the stepfather, to read Lex's mind. and get the password. And once they're done, instead of killing Lex, which would be the logical thing, especially for a guy who's known to kill people and be a criminal like the stepfather is, they just throw Lex out the limo as they're driving. And he's hurt, but he's not dead, nowhere near dead. He's not even knocked out. I'm like, well, I know he's Lex Luthor, so you're not going to kill him, but that can't be the reason in story for why. You need to come up with a better reason. I think, because I was thinking about this, Lex should have just jumped out of the limo on his own, and then the stepfather just says, whatever, leave him. Because it doesn't make sense that they would leave him alive, that they would leave Lex alive. It just doesn't make sense. So Clark somehow knows where they are, knows where Lex is, finds him, checks on him. Lex doesn't question how Clark got there so fast or where he came from. Clark has to super speed away behind Lex's back, and Lex doesn't. I was waiting for him to turn around and notice that Clark was gone fast, but no, none of that. And there's an effed up moment when the stepfather shoots and kills his wife because Ryan tells her that he's going to kill you after they steal the money. And so the father just says, he's not lying. And he shoots her with a shotgun, like kills her dead. And that was brutal. Again, this show, it's like, damn. But case in point, the stepfather kills his wife, but he didn't kill Lex just 5 minutes ago? Doesn't really make sense. But the guy did seem like a piece of shit for doing that. Ryan runs into what's a bowling alley, and he's hiding from the stepfather. And now the stepfather is looking for Ryan. He has a shotgun. He's shooting at the bowling pins. And it's clear that he's about to kill Ryan. He has his gun at him. And now I'm thinking like, okay, I guess he's just killing Ryan out of annoyance because Ryan ran away. And Ryan did lie to him about Lex's password. But like, you can't get Lex's password or you can't get Lex's money. You can't get any money without Ryan. Killing Ryan would not do anything for you right now. It would just be another kid or another person that you're killing. I was trying to figure out this guy's motivation and try to make sense of it. But he's a villain, so he doesn't need a sensible motivation. Clark arrives. It's a cool moment where Clark throws the bowling ball through the wall to knock the guy out. That was very cool. Clark saves Ryan once again. And I don't know why they didn't just do this initially. Even earlier, when Ryan was at the hospital, the doctor could have just seen Ryan's name, got his ID, or got his, not ID, I guess he's a kid, but, called his family, called the aunt that they end up calling at the end of the episode, because Ryan's aunt arrives from Edge City. What's Edge City? Is Edge City from the DC Comics? Is there a superhero that I'm not... I was trying to think when he said Edge City. Like, wasn't the Mask in Edge City? Or am I just getting this completely wrong? Maybe somebody in the comments can let me know. So the aunt shows up. Why didn't somebody find the aunt and call her at the beginning of everything? Maybe I'm just overthinking. And I liked when Ryan says to Clark, hey, do you want me to tell you what Lana really thinks of you? And I like that Clark says, I'd rather find that out on my own, but thanks. And I also like the moment where Ryan says, here, take my comic books because I have you. I have a real life superhero. I don't need these comic books anymore. That was great. That really warmed my heart. Super sentimental. I really like this Ryan character. I hope everything goes well. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below, what did you think of Stray? Did you like it as well? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!